So you have a leather jacket and you know you want to take care of it, but you're not exactly sure what that means. And you might want to condition it. You don't know when to do that. So in this video, I'm going to do a brief discussion of when you'd want to condition your jacket and some general tips for care for your leather jacket. And then I'm going to I'm going to demonstrate with this Master Supply Co. Daytona Reload, which I'm about to condition, and I'll give you the reason for why I'm doing so. So, first things first, a lot of leather jackets, you don't need to do anything to them for kind of a long time, depending on your use. And so that depending on your use, I think, trips a lot of folks up, and it can put you in this state where you're just not sure what to do. And truly, unless your jacket is getting wet and drying out quite a bit, or you're riding on a motorcycle and it's the beginning of the riding season for you, much of the time there's just not anything to be done. Your jacket is fine and you can just wear it and there's no problem. But if you've had a jacket for a long time, even without getting it wet or riding motorcycles, and the leather starts to seem a little dry or pale, or getting sweat on it a lot, for example, which can happen around the neck, there's some things you want to do. So first things first, if you do wear a jacket a lot and you sweat into it a lot, especially those areas around the neck, if you look at old jackets, you will see that area gets basically destroyed by the sweat and oils from your body that get absorbed into it. If they're never cleaned off, and if that area is never conditioned, it'll basically just cause that area around the neck to rot. Not ideal. The same can also kind of happen in older jackets on the shoulders. And what's happening there, to my understanding, is largely that those shoulders, if you're out and it's a light sprinkle or rain, the water is landing there primarily. And you might get a little bit on the body or the arms or elsewhere, but especially the shoulders are most impacted by rain. And then we also have to consider sun exposure. And if you're just walking around in your jacket, the areas that get the most direct sun are going to be around the neck and shoulders, which is very similar for a person. So just think about it in those terms. If you're not sure, if you need a rule of thumb, it's what on my body would be most exposed to the sun, and where have I had to be careful about sunscreen or sunburns. And the back of my neck is the most common area that I get a lot of sun when I'm out and about. That kind of falls between the spaces that like a hat would cover or my other clothes would cover. Okay, neck, same is true for your jacket. Same, it's true for your jacket. And then right next to the neck is those shoulders. And those areas need kind of special care and attention. So what does that mean in a practical sense? Well, there's some kind of easy rules of thumb to live by. One, if you've been sweating into your jacket a lot, before you put it away, make sure it's dry. One, it's not sweaty and going into a closet. It will become disgusting over time, smelly and perhaps moldy. But two, if you really do sweat into your jacket, take a minute, get just a cloth, maybe slightly damp, and wipe that sweat away from the back of the neck. And that will save you in the long run from a lot of stuff building up into that jacket, a lot of salt from your body getting into there and drying it out. And two, if you don't do anything to your jacket to condition it, and most jackets really don't need a lot of conditioning, that area on the neck, if you are having to clean it, maybe once a year, hit it with a little conditioner, something that is going to replenish the oils and rejuvenate that leather and bring it back to its original condition. So that's just kind of a base level for a lot of folks. Really take care of that neck area in particular, and consider the shoulders too. If you've been in sprinkles a lot, the shoulders tend to get the most exposure. Other than that, long term, every couple of years, you may take your jacket out and just take a minute to look at it and feel it and try to feel if it's losing pliability or appearing dry. That would be a time to condition it, but many robust leathers really just don't need it unless you're getting some really hard use out of it. There are other reasons you might condition a jacket from a care standpoint. And one primary one would be if it's really squeaky. If you have a loud leather, apparently, and this is something I haven't done myself, but I've heard some very credible reports from a lot of folks that conditioning that jacket, and especially the areas that do a lot of rubbing, which would be the areas under the arms and on the side of the body, where a lot of that jacket on jacket rubbing would happen. If you clean and condition that area, it can reduce the noise of a really squeaky loud jacket if you'd like to do that. You can also think preventatively about if you're going to use a jacket in a lot of random conditions and you know that you'll be getting wet in that jacket, like if you're riding a motorcycle, then conditioning, not with just a replenishment style of conditioner, you can use one that tends more towards waterproofing. And so I'm not saying to go out and get a waterproofer, but I think that there are a lot of conditioners that kind of fall into this category. I feel too that this is something that I would love to learn more about. And I've read posts and educational materials offered by folks that do conditioning, and you see a lot of products out there. And I feel like this is an area where there can be a lot of just products advertised that it's not really clear what the usage is. And I don't understand why it's that way, but it kind of is. But if you can get, so for example, Langlet's, they have what they call a leather dressing from Langlet's. It's got a silicone base. That's the one I'll be using today. They specifically say it's intended to help keep the fibers replenished and all that, but that it does have a waterproofing effect. It is a silicone-based conditioner. You hear good and bad things about silicone. I'm no expert, but Langlet suggests putting this leather dressing on a jacket from them immediately upon receiving the jacket, because their jackets are intended for motorcycle use, and in preparation for that use, a preconditioning helps to deal with the elements. Okay. There are some others that kind of fall into this category. I've heard that Picards might fall into this category, for example. On the other end of the spectrum, you see like Bic 4 or Saphir Renovateur are more the like lotiony replenishing style versus this kind of replenishing but also waterproofing effect. And anyone with specific knowledge, I would love to hear more in the comments because I just feel really truly that there's so much to learn in this area that I don't know. Today, the goal is to take this Master Supply Co. jacket, which has been in the rain several times. I've posted about it, but probably 4 or 5 times I've been in the rain in this jacket. And I want to do a little replenishing. It is a new jacket to me, but because I have decided that this will be a jacket that spends a lot of time for me on wet days, I also want to kind of give it that preventative boost. I also, kind of a side benefit here, I am looking to make this leather a little shinier, and that's a typical side effect of this particular leather dressing from Langlet's. The process is simple. First you clean the jacket, then you condition the jacket, then you let it dry, because conditioning moistens the jacket, and then you can kind of wipe and buff and polish the jacket. Now, to clean the jacket, there's kind of a couple of possibilities here. What I will actually be using is baby wipes. This is I don't want to use a really heavy duty cleaner. I actually have some saddle soap here, but this jacket is not filthy and there's not a lot I want to really remove from the jacket, but just as a gentle preparation for the conditioning, I'll be hitting it with these baby wipes. And you know, baby wipes have soap, and you gotta know it's a gentle soap if it's good enough for a baby's bottom. So we're gonna just do a gentle cleaning on this jacket. Then we're gonna wipe it down. Then we're gonna hit it with the conditioner, let it rest, and then I'm gonna get a clean dry cloth and just kind of buff it and see how it turns out. So much of the rest of the video, you're not gonna see my face because the camera is gonna be pointed at the jacket. Let's get to it. All right, baby wipes, here we come. We have gotten the whole back panel, kidney panel, these side panels. Now we're going to switch to, let's get back of the neck. We're going to flip it over. What's up, jacket? Let's get the rest of the neck. Let's get that inside neck. Let's start on the front panel. Just wiping it down. Make sure we're getting the whole panel. You can see on this jacket how the leather has started becoming much grainier down here in these areas that see a lot of bending and movement. Same is true around the neck area. Like I said in my review, this is a very pliable leather, and so it's developing that grain change really quickly. And the same is going to be true really of any leather given time. This one is just quick about it. And one more for the arms. Down. Okay, back. And other back. Let's get the other side of the arms. I don't know if y'all can see this in the camera. Wiping it down. You know, a nice thing about working with leather like this is that it's not like you have to be particularly careful here. It's pretty hard to screw up. It is heavy duty stuff, you know? All right, that is done. Gonna let it sit for a minute. Rub off with this clean towel. Not forgetting the inside here. Let's flip it back over. And yes, I cleaned this table prior to going to town on the jacket. All right, this is pretty clean. Let's get some leather dressing out. I'm now going to zip this jacket. It probably could have been zipped to begin with. That's set. The old reversey. There we go. Okay. It's a cool looking jacket. Let's hit it up now. There are a couple different ways you can apply your conditioner. Some people recommend using a rag with this leather dressing. As you can see, it comes, it's like solid basically, smushy solid. And rubbing it with your fingers warms it and allows it to spread. So I'm just gonna use my bare hands, which is actually what Langlitz recommends, and should be no problem. So that's just, you see, rubbing it gets to a kind of sheen level. I'm using 2 fingers. And let's just start applying. Thin coat is preferable. And Don't need to go too crazy. If you feel like you've overdone it, this particular one, what ends up happening is it'll look kind of caked on. And you can especially see it in the seams if it soaks in too much. You can always get it warm. Langlitz actually uses, Benny did a video where he suggested using a hairdryer to warm it up and get it uncaked and flowing again, much like how my hand is warming the jacket now. I mean, much like how my hand is warming the dressing now. If it's on the jacket and you're trying to get it to loosen up so you can wipe it off, you can just use a blow dryer to warm it and soften it to a wipeable consistency. And I think you can probably see in the camera here, I'm kind of curious because I can't see what's on the camera. You can kind of see this jacket getting that shine to it. Now some of this will fade as the conditioner soaks in, but it will still retain some of that shine, which is a nice little side benefit. I'm not ashamed to say. Bring a little bit of look to it. I want to show you. Take a look. This panel has been hit with the dressing and this one hasn't. So I want to show the difference. Let's get back to it. And we're just starting on the other panel. It helps if you take it piece by piece. Have a plan, don't be willy-nilly. And just work your way down like you're coloring, you know? Oop, oop, oop. Now this particular dressing, I will put inside the collar, like I had mentioned. I sweated a little bit there, but you really want to be extra light with this type of dressing, this silicone base in that area against the neck, because it can be kind of uncomfortable there. It can give it a tacky feeling a bit. And as I have not really been sweating into that neck much, I'm not that concerned about its longevity at the moment. So I'm gonna go extra super light. I'm actually just gonna use what's on my fingers now, which is just a little residue, and get on the inside there. I can see that there's some effect, and that's good. I just don't want to overdo it. I'm now gonna get the outside of the collar. Just working our way around. I don't know if you can see this. Let me pull it up a little bit. Just working it in. All right, I'm now going to switch to the arms. Gonna get this front arm. I'm going to go to the seam so I know what I've gotten. And I don't need to overdo it by getting it twice on the front and the back, you know? Just working that arm, getting that dressing applied. Yeah. Come on now. Nothing to be afraid of here. Really hard to screw this up. The main way you could do it would be by overdoing it. So you just keep to a thin layer. Now, if you've got a jacket that you are conditioning not preventatively like this, but because it is dry. If you say you've been wearing a jacket for a long time and you haven't conditioned it, it's been in the elements, and it has just dried out. Or if you buy a used jacket, especially vintage, and you're coming along to condition it because it's thirsty, you may do this step more than once. As in, you give it a conditioning, you clean it, you give it the conditioning. Afterwards, you have to let it sit and let the conditioning dry and soak in and everything. And you may find that the jacket just sucks it right up and still appears a little dry, or some parts of it may appear dry, and you can very gently apply another coat. So in that way, it is somewhat like painting. You do lighter coats, and if it needs more, you give it more. But you start from a place of less is more. And look, even if I've over applied here, which there is a possibility, I'm not that concerned about it because I'm doing the back of this arm. We just can wipe it off. So, no stress. Just do your best. Feel like Bob Ross a little bit here. Happy little trees. Happy little conditioner. All right. Hold it up here. Get into that seam as discussed. Make sure I don't miss any little bits. All right, that's the front of that arm done. The back, front, now we get these back panels here. It can be a little tricky, but it is leather. We just smush it around. Okay, we are almost done with the arms. Something I don't think I talked much about in that video. I really like this exposed zipper here, but not everyone does. Some folks have commented about that. I'm just going to take both hands and kind of give it one last rub in here on the front. Spread around in the areas that might have gotten a little more excess. And now for the back. Comparison, conditioned front to unconditioned back. Let's get down, start off at the seam here and then work our way down. Now this bigger panel, it can be easier to lose track of where you've been. Fewer lines to color in and all that. But you could tell by the shine, and just do your best. You know, I made a video about conditioning my shot, 618, last year. And for all of this, I actually ended up speeding up the video because I thought perhaps folks would not be interested. And also I was interrupted by the family coming in. And so I had folks come in and talking and everything while I was trying to make the video. So this one I was able to secure some time with no distractions, get things done, and give you the full start to finish experience. Last little panel here. Don't forget to hit the seam itself. And make sure I get this seam. All right, we have hit this jacket up. The conditioning part is complete. I already feel like I maybe put a little bit too much here on the top, so I'm trying to just rub it around a bit. All right. Next step is to give this some time to soak in. So we are going to take a break, and when I come back, we will buff this jacket, give it a quick rub down with a dry rag. All right, we're back. It's actually been overnight that the jacket has been sitting soaking. I double checked the instructions from Langlet's, and they actually suggest letting it rest all the way overnight. So the lighting is different, the day is different, my clothes are different. The jacket has really had some time to try to soak in the dressing that I applied. The lighting is different actually because it's a really rainy day today, so the natural light I was getting out of my window just isn't cutting it. So my apologies for the change. Here is the jacket. And I have to say, overnight was really necessary because yesterday, whenever I put the jacket away, you know, it still had a pretty wet look to it, honestly. And letting it sit overnight really allowed it to soak in and dry up. So the next step is we take this cloth and I'm just going to wipe the jacket down. I'm going to rub it down. I'm going to try to absorb any extra with this, redistribute it a little bit, and it'll come out, well, we'll see how it'll come out, won't we? This is a completely clean, dry cloth, and we are just kind of buffing here. We want to make sure that this surface, which is very slightly tacky in some areas, that is over and done with and completely untacky. So I'm not really pressing very hard here. It's just about moving the rag over the top. Make sure all these welts get properly rubbed down. Yeah, and that tacky feeling is gone now. Still some on this side. Right, that's it for these front panels. Yes, excellent. A little bit on these seams up here that I'll hit, just because it's awkward to get them. All right, we're gonna get these arms. Make sure we get to the seam on this side. And you know, it's an interesting thing spending the time with the jacket like this is that I've had a kind of interesting revelation, which is, and maybe I should formally share this elsewhere, not just in this video, but that this is cowhide. Yeah, this is a 1.5 millimeter cowhide, which is a pretty thick leather, and it's a very soft one. And I went on and on about that in different ways. But you know what it really reminds me of is deer skin, which I suppose the contemplative nature of this cleaning and conditioning and now rubbing really came to the forefront of my mind. All right, no tackiness, and I'm seeing a little bit of a shine left behind, which is nice. That was one of my kind of side goals, a little side mission here. So yeah, this cowhide really strikes me more like deer hide. And I wonder if it's something that will help me to enjoy the jacket a little better, is thinking of it in those terms. Because it is resilient. It does seem to be a pretty robust leather. But it doesn't. It feels not like cowhide. It feels like deer hide, which is its own kind of thing. It's interesting. You'll see deer tanned cowhides and stuff like that. All right. I really want to make sure that I get these arms good and that I get these spaces where the arms and the body would rub against each other. Because that is, I don't want to leave anything behind that would lead to squeakiness or at least increased squeakiness. This has been a quiet leather. And while it's not a major deal for me, I don't want to add squeakiness to a jacket that's already quiet artificially. Okay, we're getting the collar now. Okay, making sure that that has not got dressing that's going to be rubbing against my neck. Okay, let's hit the other side. I'm gonna hit this table real quick just in case there's a little bit of residue from the back of the jacket. Down we go. You can kind of see on this side, I feel better. Here, there's a patch that's still kind of shiny. And a little bit there. And that's gonna go away with the rubbing. We are here to even that out with this rag. Main back panel first. Get these little gussets. Everything gets rubbed. No excess anywhere is the goal. And an even sheen is also kind of resulting. All right. There we have it, y'all. The jacket is done. I'm gonna give it a touch, see if I missed anything. That tacky feeling is gone. And there we have it. All right, we're done here. This jacket is conditioned and ready to be worn. Here it is. And I have to say, I'm really pleased with the result from a look standpoint. And I'm happy knowing that when I wear this jacket in the rain, it'll be protected and not deteriorate any further. And it's also kind of interesting, that revelation I had, just the thoughtfulness of spending time with the jacket. You get to know it a little bit better. And thinking about it like deer skin instead of cowhide really changes my perception of the jacket. Well, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Thanks for coming along this ride for me.